Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar on running classrooms remotely using Microsoft Teams, presented by Circle IT and Valto. So we wanted to put this event together, given the fact that we've got a fair few educational customers within our customer base. And what we wanted to do is to provide some information on how Teams can enable remote classrooms, and so that you can use this to play back at your own convenience and share with your colleagues as well. Given the fact that people are already using Teams an awful lot, this is hopefully going to provide you with some insight into how Teams should be used, as well as the capabilities that are within there to deliver your classrooms remotely. There are a number of tool sets out there that can deliver this, and with a combination of these different tool sets, what we're going to try and show you today is how Microsoft Teams can actually be introduced into the environment to replace a lot of those different systems to deliver a remote classroom environment, and an effective remote classroom environment at that. So this is the final webinar in the series that we've conducted. We are looking to put some more webinar content together to help people through this COVID-19 working from home situation around the Microsoft technologies. And we're going to try and continue the theme so that these will either be Tuesdays at 10 or 11 a.m. And all of these events are available for you to play back on our website, circleit.co.uk/events, or you can also go to our YouTube channel and subscribe there as well. So what we're going to cover off today is an overview of remote classroom technologies. My colleague Hugh from Valto will provide live demonstration of remote learning and how Teams is set up to enable a lot of those functions as well. And give you some information from Microsoft directly, as well as ourselves, on how you can enable or deliver workshops around these technologies and some useful resources to take away with you as well. So some very brief introductions. So for those of you on the call today, my name's Mark Alford. I'm the Cloud Solutions Architect at Circle IT. I've been working within the educational space as well. So some of our key clients, such as Cardiff and Vale College, University of Dundee, University of Wales, Trinity St David's, working with those guys on various projects within the educational environment. And I've also got Hugh Valentine, the CEO of Valto, who also assists us delivering this as well. So just very briefly about Circle IT, because we've covered this off a lot in the previous webinars. We are a 17-year-old organization. We're about 15 million revenue now, and we have about 85 employees. Our customer base is very much split between private and public sector, and education being part of that as well. So what we've done here is put some information together on who some of those educational establishments are that we work with, so that you can hopefully gain some insight into our referenceability within this sector, particularly in the university and colleges space, where we have a very significant presence in delivering Microsoft product sets, as well as server storage and networking as well. So let's get started with the content. So the majority of educational establishments that we work with already have licensing for Microsoft or Office 365. And that will be provided to you as part of your campus agreement, or if you're a secondary or primary school, you may have that delivered by your government organisations such as Hub in Wales, or you might have those provided to you via a separate licensing agreement. But you're likely to have the very baseline of A1 licensing, which will enable the delivery of Microsoft Teams. And Microsoft Teams is Microsoft's kind of answer to delivering a unified collaborative experience for your students and teachers. And it's all around providing the collaborative teaching and learning outcomes that are required to deliver these sessions. So a lot of organizations that we're working with at the moment have already enabled Teams to deliver a lot of this content. And the challenges that you have within a lot of these environments is that the students need to understand how this will actually impact them and their day-to-day learning. A lot of students will profess that there are other systems and services out there which are far simpler to use. such as WhatsApp, for example. We've had conversations recently with organizations where students would prefer to use WhatsApp for communication. But that goes outside the realms of governance that you're able to kind of look after within your educational institution. Teams is designed to be a single point of contact for all of your teaching and learning scenarios. You can integrate your VLE into it. You can synchronize all of your student information. You can have class notebooks, which we'll demonstrate shortly. But this gives you the capability of delivering your teaching and learning sessions to those students wherever they are. And not only that, it also enables you to consider services and solutions such as bring your own device, which has always been a challenge in some of the educational establishments that we work with, given the cost of delivering some of these solutions. But Teams enables you to bring this to life and actually encourage the students to utilize their own devices. But not only that, with Teams, there are some very good personalized and accessibility features available within this. So there are kind of real-time translation tool sets. There's an immersive reader in Office in Teams as well. And on top of all of those services, it's fundamentally secure. So your students can have a safe working environment to participate in these sessions. So Microsoft Teams, as I mentioned, is included with an Office 365 A1 plan. So an A1 plan is the basic entry level for educational institutions to participate in, because it's free. There's no commitment from Microsoft in order to obtain this service. So that version gives you unlimited chat, built-in group and one-to-one audio, as well as 10 gig of team file storage. And on top of that, each user will have 2 gig of personal file storage as well. So what that means is that you can transition your students away from having this personal drive, which may very well be stored on the server within the college, school, university, which requires that student to be able to VPN in or be on campus. By moving those drives, and one of the ways to move those drives, for example, is to every new enrollment year, you just don't give them a personalized drive anymore on premises. You utilize OneDrive for them to synchronize their content and access it on any device wherever they are. And as part of all of this as well, you will also get school data sync, which allows you to integrate and transfer your information from on-premise into the Office 365 environment to enable such services as single sign-on capability into Teams, so that you've got all this information around what classroom and class that they're participating in. So there are some benefits from Microsoft as well as part of all of this, and Fast Track is one of those. So for any educational establishment, you will have support for the lifetime of your subscription from Microsoft, providing free deployment assistance for the Microsoft 365 and Office 365 entities. Now that doesn't dilute potentially services that Circle IT and Valto can deliver, but this is assistance that we typically work with Microsoft on to enable the services that we're talking about today and that you can hopefully consume. So Fast Track is definitely something worth exploring, because that will get Microsoft to reach out to you directly or through a partner and be able to assist you on your utilization and adoption journey as part of this. And as part of Fast Track, it will also assist you with your Teams implementation as well. So it can ensure that security is front and center of your Microsoft 365 deployment. So things like multi-factor authentication, conditional access, and things like that are included in this. And these aren't things to hinder your students' ability or staff's ability to utilize Teams, but it's to provide fundamental security in the world that we live in now around the services and access to your data. And on top of that as well, it will also help you get things set up such as secure emails or Exchange Online advanced threat protection, which means that you're at less risk of things like phishing attempts for your staff or students based on kind of credential phishing and things like that. So in order to get started with that, I encourage you to go to microsoft.com/fasttrack for guidance and resources and submission for assistance. Additionally to the Microsoft assistance that you can have as part of this, you will also have some government assistance. So this is obviously in relation to the COVID-19 situation, where the Department for Education will provide digital services and internet access, so laptops and tablets for young people who do not currently have access to them. So that's something I would, again, encourage you to look at and see the guidance from the government on this to enable you to deliver these services for less fortunate kind of students and children during this crisis. So that's just some brief information to kind of get you started on what this looks like. And what we're now going to do is actually conduct a live demonstration of the capabilities and services available to you within Microsoft Teams and the classroom functionality within this. So I'm going to hand over to Hugh now, and he will take over the next part of the presentation to give you this demonstration.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much, Mark. I'm just going to jump over and share my screen, so you'll be able to see that now. So today we're going to cover off kind of what is Microsoft Teams in relation to education. So this is kind of the overview for Microsoft Teams. The kind of first part of this is we have the Teams section available on the left-hand side. So the Teams section, if I click into this, you can see I've got a list of teams set up in this demo environment. If I click on Join or Create a Team, I'm able then to jump in and start to look at creating a team here. So the different types of teams that I have available. The first one is class. So this is ideal if you're running a class, you're a teacher and you want to get people involved. You can add all of the teachers in there who will have all the ability to add assignments and files and do all the administrative tasks. And you're also able to add students on there who are more able to participate in the classroom. We've got a professional learning community. So if you're working with several teachers and you want to be able to help and work with those and upload relevant materials and share classroom guides, that kind of thing, that's what this team's for. We have the staff section. So the staff section basically covers off like administration, back office type functionality. So if you want to provide this functionality for your finance team or any other back office people, that's what this is for. We then have the other section. So if you're running clubs or after school study classes or anything like that, that's what this one's ideal for as well. If I click on class, we can then start to create a team. So if you guys have signed up for the education part and you've got this already, you can jump in, you can hit create a team, and I can call this example classroom. I can give it a description, I can hit next, and that'll go off and create the team. I'm able to add, obviously here, I can add teachers. So I can search for any teachers that are being set up in the system. I can just type in the name of someone in here. I can search for D here, and then that'll come up. This one's obviously flagging that they're a student, but if I was to find a teacher in there, then they'd flag up as a teacher in this list as well. So that's with the teacher section. We can also have students. So there's a few different ways that we're able to add students. Once I create the team, if we skip over this for now, I can click onto the team now. I've created this example team, and I'm able to click these three dots, and I've got a section here that's called Manage Team. So the Manage Team is where I can basically add a user in here if I want to. So again, I can search for that box that I found earlier on. I can also click on Settings, and within here, I've got a few different options. So one of the things I can do here is generate a code for the team. So perhaps if your infrastructure isn't currently set up and you don't have students in there, you don't have the teachers, you can actually generate a code and you're able to send that over, and then they can get started with this. So this is a really good way of getting started if you don't currently have teams. What we can also do is we can choose Get Link to a Team, and we can send this over an email as well. So for educations that aren't currently using Microsoft Teams, we can use the Get a Link to Team, or we can use the other piece to get them on. So that's how we'll do this piece. The best way by far, though, if we're looking to get people on, is within the back end of Office 365. Your IT team, and as Mark mentioned, we can use like partners or Fast Track to help get this set up. We're actually able to do a synchronization. So if you guys have a student information system and that's not currently set up to sync, within this platform here in the back end, we're actually able to perform a synchronization and bring all of your students into this. So Mark, you had a little bit more information around the syncing on this component as well?
Yeah, that's right. So there's a lot of different student information systems out there, and Microsoft School Data Sync is trying to capture as many of those as possible. So some of the larger providers out there, like the Moodles and things like that, in terms of the VLE, sorry, what this can do is synchronize a lot of the information out of your student information systems into the Microsoft world, so that you're not having to repopulate classrooms and departments and things like that from those environments, because it's already there. So a lot of educational establishments we work with, as part of the enrollment process, that's typically managed by HR. Once they collect all the information, that information gets pumped from the HR system into the student information system, and then that in turn automatically creates the accounts. And ideally, where you need to be with this is to encourage the IT systems as part of this to automatically feed into that process, so that you can automate all of this process as part of the student enrollment, so that you aren't creating more work for yourselves going forward.
Thank you, Mark. So yeah, I think the three options are, if you're kind of very early in this and you're not using Teams or Office 365 at all, we would use the get link and the generate a code. If perhaps you're already using Office 365 and you've got access to the admin center, we can manually add people into here and give them the students or the teachers licenses. But then finally, as Mark said, the best way by far is to get the synchronization set up with your student information system, because this will remove a lot of the administrative overheads. So back on Teams. If I go back to all teams, I've kind of got this one here for physical science that's been set up. So as a teacher, I can see all the ones that I've been invited to and access those. So I can jump into this team. Now, down the left-hand side are a list of all of the teams being broken down into what are called separate channels. So you can see here, every team starts off with a general channel. And that's a good place just to put general information. So one of the key concepts of Microsoft Teams is the tagging. So if I was perhaps going to start the classroom, I could tag the entire team by doing an @team tag. And I could say class is starting at 9 a.m. today. And because I've tagged the @team, everyone who's a member of this team basically will get a notification, and that will pop up on their device. So basically the tags are very important. We can use the tags to do an @team. So if we tag the whole team, people can then respond. So you can see here now a response has dropped in with Douglas, who said that he's going to join, and I can like that message as well. I can also use the tags to just tag individuals. So perhaps I've been working, we've got some feedback from Douglas and another student in the team, Arden, and I can say, how are you getting on with your project work? And what that basically allows us to do then is that they can come in and they say, right, I'm doing fine. And we start to get the responses coming in that way. So the tags are really important. The full @team tag, get everyone's attention. And then if you just want to get a certain individuals, you can do that and just tag the individuals. You can also not tag anyone. So if there was something that was relevant that you wanted to post, you could just come into here. You could get a link from the internet like so. And I could say, this may be of use, and I can post that up. Because I haven't tagged anyone, that's not going to pop up for people, but it'll show up as bolded, as you can see in this channel here. So as you start to think about how you're going to use the tags, think about using the team tag for the whole class, think about using the individual tags for getting one or multiple people's attention. And then obviously, if you're just putting information in, you don't need to tag anyone at all. And that will then pop up on their various devices. As I mentioned, we can break this team up into different sections. So I've got a section here on oceans, and as soon as I click in that, you'll see the conversations have now disappeared, and I've got a fresh area here. So if you find you've got a really busy team with lots of things going on, it's best then to start thinking about, right, I can create another channel, and that's then got its own separate conversations. It's got its own separate files and notes, and we'll go into those in more detail. But just think of it as a way of breaking up the class for different topics and perhaps different work groups as well. When I create a channel, I've got two types of channel I can create. I've got a standard channel. So this is accessible to everybody in the team, so they can all see the channel. And I can also create a private channel. So this might be good if you've got a specific work groups and you don't want everyone to see what they're working on. Perhaps they're working on a presentation and the results at the end you want to share. So a private channel is very, very good for having that. So I could do a project team 3, and nobody apart from the members that I add into this will be able to see that. And that'll be indicated with a little padlock in here. So you could have a secret teachers section, or you could have a students only section. And you'll see here now that's got a little padlock and it's got its own restricted posts and files area. So the channels are a really good way of doing that kind of thing. One of the things that we can do, which people aren't aware of, if I hit this little A icon, it gives me quite a lot of options that I can do. It gives me, like, I can bold things and I can change this over to a new announcement. So perhaps as we go through, I've got a new assignment. I can say new assignment added due for tomorrow. I can put a subheader and I could tag the whole team to get their attention. So I can say, can we have a look at this? So now when I hit that message, you'll see that this is very clearly bolded, so that the kind of announcements are good for making messages stand out so people can see them there. As we go across the top of here, we've got a few different tabs that we can go into. So the first tab here is we've got this file section. So the file section basically is a shared files area that everyone has view access to. So all the students are able to see the files in here, and you can put things like relevant PowerPoints in there. You can share Word documents, and the students are able to then view those. We can also put class materials. So these can be used for read-only sections. So if you want to give people the ability to edit, you can do that here, but you can also put a read-only section where they're not able to make any changes. Every student would also get a OneDrive area as well. So the OneDrive area is a good place for the student to store all the files that they're working on as well. So part of this, if I jump into a student's OneDrive, you'll see here, I've got all my own work, so nobody else can see this. I can share it obviously with the teacher, but the students have their own personal storage area where they can put their homework, things they're working on, and they can download stuff into. So the files within Teams are really good for sharing information with the whole classroom. And then the files that are within the OneDrive as that personal area for the students to put their working information and do that within there. We also have a class notebook. So this again is a shared area. It's a really good kind of knowledge sharing tool. So what we can do within the class notebook is we can have different sections. So you can see here I've got the welcome to the class notebook, so I can see information on how to get started with it. If I expand this section out on the left hand side, I can have different pages within here. So I can use this to start to put all my stuff that I want my students to have access to, and I can put my notes that they can follow. So there's a collaboration space where we can see velocity notes, that kind of thing. Every student also has a OneNote, so they can then take copies of those notes and they can then start to put their own notes within here. So as a teacher, I'm able to see all of this information, but if I go in here, I can also see where Douglas is up to, and I'm able to browse through and have a look at his notes and make sure that this all is on track with what we're up to. So we're able to jump into their kind of notes and see where they're up to and what they're working on. I've also got assignments. So within the assignments section, as a teacher, I'm able to create assignments and assign those to students. So if I hit the create button in here, I can do an assignment. So an assignment's kind of like a detailed piece of work. So I might upload a Word document or some other resources to help them within there. I can put a title in there so the student knows what it's about, and a category if I want to. We can also put how many points this is worth. So when we come to grade this or mark this afterwards, we're able to say how many they got and how many points they got for the total mark of that. And then I can assign it to different students. So you can assign this to specific students if you need to, or you can assign it to everybody in the team. And you can kind of do due dates, and you can even schedule assignments as well. So I've got some kind of assignments in here that I can go to. So if I go back here, you can see here I've got some that are scheduled. So there's these ones that are coming up that are ready to be done. I've got a monthly quiz, so I can jump into that, and I can see where all the students are up to and what kind of, where, if they've turned their work in. This hasn't been done yet, but if I go into the assignment in here, you can see that kind of quiz and what I've got within there. So the assignment section is very, very good for kind of assigning work to people. And then you can go back into that afterwards and see kind of the graded work, whether you've returned it, that kind of thing. The grade section allows us to basically mark students off and see where they're up to and how they've been doing. So you can see here for Douglas's Ocean Labs report, he got 89. One of his pieces of work was returned. The whole class has had their math review done, and we can see all of their scores on that. And we can go across all the time and see all of the different work and where they're up to. We're also able to add lots of other kind of tabs. So as a teacher, you can see here there's thousands of applications that are available. I would probably recommend, as part of the governance before deploying this, you look at perhaps restricting some of these, because you wouldn't want teachers going off and just activating every single tab that's available, but there are some useful ones in there. But I'm able to do things like pin a Word document, I can pin a PowerPoint document, that kind of thing. So I've got a Word document here, and the idea is that every student, as they come into here, they're then able to see the Word document and browse it. So it's kind of like pinning it at the very top. And you can see here I've got some for Word Oceans projects. I've got one for Flipgrid that we'll cover off later on. So the tabs are a good way of just making it easy for your students to find information on what they're looking for. The next big part of Microsoft Teams and actually running the classrooms is kind of the meeting capability. So what I can do is I can click down here and I can choose the meeting section. So I've hit this meet now. And what I'm able to then do is I can either schedule it. So if I wanted to schedule a class in advance, I can come in here and say we're going to do Oceans class. I can then search for the attendees that I want to join in here. So I could find Douglas. I could then schedule this in advance. If we wanted to do this tomorrow at 9 AM, I could drag those people in. It's going to be started in this physical science, and I can put some details in here, like an agenda of what we're going to cover and that kind of thing. And then I can hit send, and that'll send an email over and a Teams notification to Douglas to let him know that that classroom's going to kick off. I can also just hit this video icon, and I can just do a meet now. So if I told everyone to be available for 9 AM, I can hit the meet now. And what I'm able to do then is I can start to drag people into the meeting. So I could search again for Douglas in here, and that then will call him and invite him into the meeting. So what will be happening for Douglas is if he's online, he'll be getting a call basically on his Teams to say, I'm available. So you can see here, David wants to join the meeting. So I can jump on a voice only, and that then allows me to join the meeting. So when I'm within the meeting, I'm able to do a few different things in here. So the primary one I've got is the ability to do a screen share. So I can click into share here, and I'm able then to share my desktop. So as a teacher, perhaps I want to share an application that we're going to go through today, or I could go through and I could share a PowerPoint or anything like that. So I'll just jump into a PowerPoint to show you. So you see here when I'm sharing, I've got a few different options. I'm able to share my entire screen. So I can just pick to share one of my screens. I'm able to share an application. So if there was a specific application I wanted to, and I can even use an Edge tab if I'm doing that. So as the teacher, I can click on to share. Just bear with me a second. And I can then share my presentation over on the left-hand side. So you can see here I've got my presentation, and I'm then able to flick through the slides, and the students will be able to see that as I'm changing through. I can also share a whiteboard. So this is quite a good piece of functionality if perhaps you want to do some visual type of demonstrations. So jump into the whiteboard here, and I'm able to either open the app. So there's a full whiteboard application that you can download, or you can use this within the web browser. The app has a lot more functionality within it. So within the app, you're able to do things like add text and stuff. Whereas when I'm on this, I'm quite limited, but I can do things like drawings. I'm able to show people what I'm doing. On the full app, I'm able to put things like add text in here. So you can see on the app, it's a lot more comprehensive the kind of functionality you're able to do. You're able to add pictures, you can like things, and the idea is the students can feed back onto this and they can start to draw as well. So the whiteboard is a really fantastic tool that can be used for visually showing what you're working on and getting people to feedback on there as well. So that's kind of the sharing functionality. We can record classes. So as I was doing this, I might want to do a recording of the class, and that basically will record absolutely everything. So as I'm demonstrating the video and showing this kind of thing, it's going to be recording for everybody to see. When I'm ready to stop sharing, I can click on the hang up option, and that'll then kill the video off, and the video then will drop into this. So in a few minutes, the video will be available for a download. And that video also goes into a product called Microsoft Stream. So Stream basically allows us to see all the videos that have been created and uploaded. So as this recording finishes, it's a bit slow at the moment, so this video might take a while to actually show up here. But in Stream, I'm able to see all of the videos, and you can think of this as a YouTube for your school. And basically I can go in and I can look at my videos and I can see those and play them back. So once you've got these classes, if your students aren't able to join, they're able to basically jump in and see what's going on and all that kind of stuff, and then play the video back. So that's kind of the classroom functionality. We can also basically see this from a student perspective as well. So if I jump back into the student side of things, if I'm a student logging into this environment, there's a few differences. So I've come into this area here. You can see that the student's only able to see a few of the teams that they're a member of. They're not able to see absolutely everything. So I'm able to come into this physical science section, and you'll notice that some of the sections are quite different. So within here, I can still start a conversation and I can come in. So I can say, I'm going to sort my homework tomorrow. I can jump into the file section and I can see all of the files that are available to me, and I can go in and view those. I've got my class notebook. So as I mentioned earlier on, the class notebook has two sections to it. The first section is we have the class study material. So I'm able to see all of the shared things the teachers shared with me, and I can come in and view those. And I can only see my own OneNote. So whereas the teacher was able to see absolutely everything within there, I can only see my own. So the students are able to work in this section and provide updates that nobody else is able to see. From the assignments perspective, whereas the teacher was able to create and edit and view the assignments, I'm able to just see the assignments that are assigned to me. So I can see here, I've got my monthly physical science presentation here. And what I'm able to do is I can add my work in here, and you'll see that the integration with my OneDrive's on this. So I can see all of the stuff that I've put into my OneDrive, and I can attach my ocean report, and that's then able to be seen. Once I've finished my homework, I'm able to click hand in, and that will then send a notification to the teacher to let them know that that's been finished. And you got some cool animation kind of things in here, and I can go back and see what other homework that I've got associated to myself. So the assignments section is kind of where the student's able to see the work that they've got allocated to them, upload it, and then they can hand that back in. The grade section allows us to see the kind of what I've got in my different grades. So again, the teacher was able to see absolutely everyone and how they got on. Whereas in here, I can see all of my homework, what scores I got for them. This one's obviously been handed in late, but it's basically my overview as a student of what I can do from a grades perspective. So that's kind of an overview of the Microsoft Teams functionality. So we've been through kind of the posts as a teacher. We can do the kind of updating, the assignments, all that kind of thing. One other section that can be of use is the chat. So if as a teacher you need to chat with an individual student, we can hit this little pencil icon at the top. We can search for a student within here, and we're then able to basically start having a chat with those, and we can say, hello, Marsha, I can see your assignments are late. And that student's able to feedback. So you can see a previous conversation I've had with Douglas. So can we have a chat about your homework? Douglas has said yes. And within the chat functionality of this, I'm then able to do a video chat or an audio call, and I can do all of the screen sharing stuff. So whereas the Team's good for public, where you want the whole classroom to see, the chat section is very restricted just to those students to be able to see those sections. So that's kind of an overview of Microsoft Teams. The next platform that we wanted to jump into is another free product called Flipgrid. So Flipgrid basically allows us to create, again, this platform's completely free, so any teacher is able to get started with this. On the free version, you're able to create a grid, and on that grid, you're able to have an unlimited number of topics. If you want to have multiple grids, so perhaps you're running multiple classes, there is paid for versions, so they can be, and then you can have unlimited topics. But on the free one, you can create one grid, and you're then able to have an unlimited amount of topics on here. So the whole idea of a grid and the whole idea of Flipgrid is to make an interactive kind of video sharing area. So what I'm able to do is if I just stop sharing my screen for 1 second and just share with audio. So what I'm able to do in here, I've got a video that I've made earlier on, which basically is say hello on Flipgrid. So what this allows me to do is, as a teacher, I've recorded a video. Hello and welcome to our science class. If you'd like, so I've basically done a video which is welcoming the students onto here, and what I've then asked the students to do is send a post below to do an introduction of themselves. So it allows the teacher in a remote environment to basically understand the student, learn a bit more about them, perhaps learn how they pronounce their name, all that kind of thing. So Douglas has created a video here.
Hi, my name's Dougie. I'm interested in the sea and DNA. And I'm looking forward to the Oceans project to learn more about marine biology.
So we can see that Dougie's really into science and sea here. And we've got another video from Kyle where he's done an introduction video.
Hi, my name is Kyle, and I am looking forward to this year's science classes.
So in a remote environment, we can see that Flipgrid's really, really handy for getting to know students. It's perhaps a little bit more fun. People can actually put filters and emojis on. So perhaps if they're not comfortable sharing their video, they can actually blur themselves, or they can cover this with stickers. It's not necessarily that they have to be using the video. But the whole idea is to provide an interactive and fun environment. So how we can use this from a class perspective, if I jump back into DNA structure, we've got here a detailed DNA structure overview. So it's kind of, we want you to post videos to document progress. The teacher's done a recording of a video here. Hi everyone. Once you've been through the DNA materials provided and the classroom notes, I'd like you to post a video about the top 3 facts that you've learned about DNA. So from an interactivity perspective, we can create a class or we can create a topic. We can get then all the students to start to feed back on these and start to put posts. We can share the ones that are really good, so the rest of the class are able to see those. And it's basically just trying to provide a kind of fun, interactive learning space for people to work from. And I've got relevant documents and that kind of thing. There's also this Disco library. So this basically is a shared platform. So what lots of other educations and teachers are doing is uploading their topics on here. So I could search for something in here called ocean. And then all the information where oceans come in here, ocean in a bottle, and you can basically add this to your own grid, and then you can get started. So you don't have to create all the material, but I can jump into ocean animals. There's been 17 hours of content in there. So it's a really good way of you saying, right, I just want to drop this into my grid. And then you can go in and modify it and start to add your comments in and stuff. So there's lots of materials as an educator that you can drop into here and start to use straight away. So Flipgrid is a really good tool for perhaps making this a bit more fun and trying to engage with students on a video perspective, as opposed to it all being one way and on a classroom. Within Teams as well, we're able to pin different tabs, as I mentioned earlier on. So if I go back into my team here and I click the 3 dots, I can actually integrate Flipgrid. So the student's able to log into Flipgrid very easily. They'll be given a code to sign in with, so we can just type their code in here and choose Let's Go. And then they're able to jump in and they can see all of the information and get started with that straight away. So Flipgrid is very interactive and allows us to drop it into Microsoft Teams for one platform as well. The other platform that we were going to cover off is basically SharePoint. So this is kind of really good for a back office type functionality, as opposed to, you could use it for classes and stuff, but within the SharePoint platform, it's all about basically making potentially an intranet. So if you're thinking about this from a teachers and back office perspective, we're able to basically look at the kind of intranet. We can see that there's links to policies, there's links to different systems like visitors, expenses, leave requests. So it's all about making it easy to find a central place that people can find that information. On the intranet, we can do things like have company news, so we can put the news about the school, that kind of thing. We can put weather, countdown timers, we can have a Twitter feed on there, and we can have upcoming events. So think of SharePoint as a place that we can start to drop information for the back office and teachers to have a centralized portal that they can access. One really good tool that we can have within here is this ISO section. So this is kind of a policies management area. So as the teachers are looking for all the policies that are applicable to them, we've got within here a list of all the policies. So you can see like leaver checklist, lone working, IT policy. And what we can do with SharePoint is we can build automated reviews. So we have here a review date, a reviewer, an approval date, and approver. So effectively, this policy every year will notify the reviewer, Peter, to say it's time for us to review this policy. He can then make changes to that policy, and it will then go through an approval. He can hit this submit approval button at the top, and then it'll go to the approver, which is myself, and we can then see all of these. If I was a normal teacher or back office staff in here, I wouldn't see all these drafts and rejected. I would just see the latest approved document of this policy. So this is kind of a really good place to store your policies, and you can think of SharePoint to help you with your automations and processes and that kind of thing. We can even use Flow to kind of, when this does get us approved as a new version, we can then use the policy tracker, which can send an email to every single member of staff to say there's a new data protection policy, and we can then track who's read those policies and who hasn't. So that's kind of an overview of the tools that are available. Microsoft Teams for running your classrooms, and obviously the meetings capability. We then have the Flipgrid, which is a really good interactive education tool, and we can then use SharePoint to build kind of an intranet and a back office type portal for people to access. I'll now hand over back to Mark, who's got some additional resources and help that can help you get started with this.
That's great, thank you. So yes, what we've got here is some additional links to some webinars specifically created by Microsoft around online classes and lectures, meetings, and from an IT administration side of things as well. They're quite short and sharp webinars to give you some further information, so I would encourage you once again to jump onto these and take a quick look at them to hopefully give you some further insight onto what we've covered during today's session. There is also a Microsoft Educator Community available within the Microsoft ecosystem as well. So that is all around your professional development as part of this. So there'll be learning paths, there'll be achievements, there'll be resource and lessons plans all on there as well. But Microsoft have a very large footprint within the educational space, and they have dedicated teams within the organization that specifically align to universities and colleges as well as the wider ecosystem around what can be delivered on this platform. If you're not aware of who your current account representative is from Microsoft, I would encourage you to find out who that is, or give us a shout, and we can try and help understand who that is to get them aligned to you to deliver some of this information back to you as well. But there are a lot of resources available, as I've mentioned, and I would encourage you to have your digital champions within each of your establishments to look at the content that is on this page, to encourage the staff members to educate themselves around their ability to utilize the services within Microsoft's ecosystem, and it will all continue towards their professional development as well. So it's very worthwhile taking a look at. And some further professional development resources as well. We've got the Education Centre, the Learn IT training assets as well, the global education training partners that can help you deliver some well-needed training to your organization, as well as the Microsoft Stores workshops as well. So all of these resources combined can be utilized to help you build an effective adoption program within the Microsoft ecosystem.